So I saw a quote the other day that said, "You don't look like your goals, you look like your habits." And that spoke volumes to me. Personally, I live by my routines, I live by my habits. And so I wanted to make this video just to maybe inspire you a little bit to make meaningful routines and habits yourself. Let's start first by differentiating what a habit is and what a routine is. When you call it a habit, it's more automatic. It's like you don't even have to think about it to do it. You just do it, or it's like second nature to you. But when it's routine, it's more intentional, it's more structured. I intertwine routines and habits mainly because I do these routines so often that it just turns into habit. What I mean by that, and this is a really good thing when it comes to building habits and building routines, is that once you start trying to build a routine, the more you do it, the more it becomes a habit, the more it becomes integrated to your lifestyle. So why do I have these habits? Why do I have these routines? It's simply because I love structure in my life. I think having these healthy habits keep me in check, and they also keep me happy. They keep me excited for what's to come, and it kind of gives me some sense of purpose in my life doing these habits, because I'm not just wandering around the earth doing whatever I want to do. Yeah, that's basically it. So for the habits and the routines that I'm going to be talking about in this video, I don't just do all of them in one go. I make sure to spread them throughout the whole month, and I feel like it's healthier for me and I feel more productive if I scatter all these habits throughout the month and not just do them all like in one go. And I made sure that these routines are tailored around my obligations in life, any work or life events that happen periodically, and it's mainly curated just so I could set myself up for success, not only for the current month but for the preceding month. I also don't like procrastination. I'm not a fan of it at all and would prefer doing things as soon as I'm able to do so. That's why when I was realizing these recurring events or recurring tasks that I do every month as I plan ahead, I realized that, once I receive something, I can do something about it already instead of waiting at the end of the month to do it and be like, where did that document go? Or what happened again? I don't want that for myself. So that's why I spread all these habits or routines throughout the whole month. All right, so now that I've explained to you my thinking behind these habits, these routines, I haven't even talked about them. But before I show you what they are, I wanted to tell you where I'm coming from and why I created these habits in the first place, just so you know that when you're trying to build your own habits, you need to think about the why first. You need to think about the purpose of doing that specific habit. And I think that is one of the greatest motivators when it comes to keeping up and being consistent with habits. So after I've babbled on about the why of my habits, let's move on to the how. So how did I do it? How did I create these habits? And now how was I able to make sure that it worked well for me? I think it's in my accountant nature to look into patterns. So if there are any events or any tasks that I notice are happening on the same day or on the same frequency in a month, then I take mental notes of that. And with that, I just, transfer it into my calendar to make sure that even if I have mental notes of it, I still get physical reminders that I have to do it this day, I have to do it this week, and so on. I've actually reflected on how I would organize the how, but I think it would be better that I move on from like the first day of the month to the last day of the month, because I also tried to think, what if I categorize it by financial and non-financial, but I decided to just go on the chronological orders of the day because I felt like that would be the most natural thing to do. So because of that, I want to start off with bills, because usually bills get paid off at like the first of the, I mean, at least one of the bills, right? Like the rental payment, they get paid off at the start of the month. So yeah, that's the simplest example I can give you. When talking about bills, most specifically rental payments, which are usually again at the first of the month, even if my rent payments get automatically deducted from my bank account, I still take the time to write rent payment on my calendar during the first of the month. Why? Because I want to get reminded that by the first, I should have had the resources, aka the money, to pay off whatever bills are due for that specific date. And that goes on with any bill you have. So all you have to do is look at your, I don't know, your contract, some contract that you have, and then look at, oh my goodness, are people in here okay?
No.
Anyway, oh my goodness. Okay, there you go. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the contract. So you just look at the contract, look into the due date, and make sure that before that due date, you have the money to pay for that bill. And speaking of due dates, I want to move on to credit cards. So when I moved to Canada, that was the first time of me experiencing having a credit card. Oh my gosh, my video just got cut off. I don't know what happened, but I have to refilm it. But I think we were talking about credit cards. Just trying to make sure that it's recording this time. Okay, it is recording. Okay, when it comes to credit cards, I take note of two specific dates. One is 5 days before the statement date, and the other one is the last day of the month. So when it comes to 5 days before the statement date, I take note of it because I want to pay off some of the debt that I have in that credit card, just to make sure that I have 1 to 2% credit utilization on my credit card statement for that month. And I want to do this because I want to tell the credit unions that, hey, I'm using your credit card, but I'm not using it as high as you think, because I heard that if your credit utilization goes above like 10%, I'm just not sure of the actual number because there are lots of like people giving out tips, but what I heard was 10%. If it goes above that, then there's a potential that you could get a lower credit score. So I make sure to have it between 1 to 2% every time I get my credit card statement, and on the last day of the month I pay everything on that credit card. I wipe that slate clean, and the reason for that is simply because I want to feel peaceful at the end of the month. I also pin all the paydays that I have in my calendar just because I want to make sure that I have all my paychecks inputted in my salary tracker. And the reason I have a salary tracker in the first place is because I have part-time jobs, and I want to make sure that I'm getting paid the hours I actually work. I honestly debated if I wanted to make one just because I didn't think it was really essential, but I found out that it was, because there was this one time that I was paid incorrectly, so I was basically traumatized. And because of that, I made the decision to keep up with that salary tracker and ensure that I input all my salaries every time I get my paycheck. And speaking of paychecks, once I receive the last paycheck of the month, the day after that, I dedicate 30 minutes to an hour trying to budget that paycheck for the month ahead. And I do this just so, again, I could have some peace of mind knowing that the month ahead has already been taken care of, has already been budgeted. All right, so let's move on with the other things that I do, the other routines that I do once a month. And one of those is planning for the month ahead. I do this strictly 2 weeks before the new month begins. So what I basically do is first look into a goals tracker that I have. I put there all my personal goals, my professional goals, and my financial goals for the next month. And in that same tracker, I look into my current month's goals and see what goals I can already check off, because 2 weeks before the new month is basically half of the month. I see whatever goals I've reached, and I can also look into the goals that I need to work on more for that month. And other than setting my goals for the next month, I also plan on my digital calendars and my physical calendars to take note of any events, whether it be professional or personal events that will happen for the next month. So for example, birthdays, any networking events that I'm going to, any doctor's appointments. I also make sure to jot that down during that planning phase. And now here we are on the last day of the month. And I have a very simple yet very meaningful routine when it comes to the last day of the month. So first, I pay off all my debt, as I've mentioned earlier. So that's my credit card. My only debt is my credit card. And then I update my net worth. That means I get to update all the ending balances of my accounts, whether it be savings or investment accounts, in this net worth tracker that I made. And last but not the least, I look back on that goals tracker that I mentioned earlier and check off any of the remaining goals that I have met for the current month. Not only that, I also take the time to reflect on the current month. So I have there a couple of prompts, like what are the 3 best things that happened this month? What are you most proud of this month? What can you improve on for the next month? And what did you discover about yourself this month? And those 4 questions help me to really reflect and really think about what happened. How did I feel this month? And how can I improve more on myself for the next month? This last thing I'm leaving off for the last part of this, how I do it, because it's the only thing that I do repeatedly, which I do every week. And that is to track my cash flows for the week and to plan for the next week ahead. I want to say though, I already have a budget tracking app on my phone called Budget, wherein whenever I spend, I just input it there. But I also have a budget tracker where I input all my income and expenses for the week, because to be honest, when I was using the budget app, yes, I'm logging in all my expenses, all my salaries, but honestly, it's not making me reflect. I just input the numbers and then that's it. But when I started using the budget tracker that I have and taking the time, devoting my Sundays to track or rewrite my income and expenses, that's when I started to reflect, like, oh, I only have this much for this category. And I wouldn't even take the time to do that with my budget app. And then when it comes to planning for the week ahead, I just look into my monthly calendar and make sure to input everything for that week. I would say this has been most helpful when I was a student, because of all the assignments and tests and exams that I had to keep up with along with all my other responsibilities in life. But now that I'm not a student, I don't know if it's just me in my entry level position, but whenever I make my weekly to-dos, it's just like go to work at 9 a.m. and that's it. I don't even input anything else. I mean, I love it because I'm not as busy anymore, but I also love seeing stuff in my planner. So where are the tasks, right? Anyway, I love doing both of these every end of the week because they help me sleep more soundly at night. All right, and we've reached almost to the end of this video. I just wanted to maybe like motivate you guys a little bit more by telling you how effective it has been for me building all these habits and these routines. So I think I've started building these routines since I moved to Canada, which was 2 years ago. Granted, these habits that I'm telling you right now, these weren't the habits that I used to have in my calendars. And that's what's beautiful about it, right? You get to always reflect about your life, about what's happening with it, and you get to tweak things up a little bit. And to add to that, I think building these healthy habits, these healthy routines, can help a person be happier in life. Why do I say that? Having to know that you have something to look forward to, granted that these routines will make you happy, because it does for me. It's something to look forward to. It's something to keep you excited. Like, oh, whenever I get my paycheck, I get to open this Excel tracker that I made by myself and input the numbers that I need to input. Just the little things like that. I think that's going to be my biggest takeaway for you guys, that if you're building these routines yourself, make sure that these routines are what keeps you happy, what keeps you excited. All right, I'm hoping that this video is recording, because if not, I'm honestly gonna lose my mind. Anyway, I'm finished. I'm hoping that this video motivates you guys to create your own healthy habits and routines. Comment down below what habits or routines you've thought about while you were watching this video. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.